I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers.
Yeah, that's near like cultish level stuff.
You decide how your life's going to go at that point.
You're 11 years old.
Right.
I do think there's something important about taking higher level math.
Do we need a system to regulate that? All right, so do you think less of me is a college dropout?
No.
Be honest.
As a dropout?
Yeah.
No, I don't
You
think
won't
less
offend me.
of you.
Just like, maybe just in general, as somebody as a college dropout. Because it is.
Well, my dad's a college dropout.
That's true.
And then he went back to finish it. I don't think
He's not a true college dropout.
he failed at that too. I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't think less of you.
No.
Especially because you're succeeding now.
Yeah.
I think if you were under a bridge, I'd probably think less of you then.
But like, so the general, well, you hear the term college dropout.
Yeah, I mean, it's
not,
definitely negative.
Yeah, it's got a negative connotation to it. I don't know. I would think
Yeah,
there might be some kind of like,
yeah. I feel like it's a story that you hear kind of often, you know, but it's not like you'll hear some successful person in media or like a celebrity like dropped out of college, like chased a dream and now they're doing crazy things. Mm-hmm. So it's like, in that case, no, like I think there's a cool kind of like hippie vibe to being a college dropout and then being a famous YouTuber. But
yeah, it's kind of the cool thing now.
Yeah.
To drop out of college.
yeah, it's cool to quit. So
Well, there is a difference. So, like you said, like I didn't quit college just because I just was lazy and didn't want to do college. Like I quit college because I actually knew I had something to pursue, and so I pursued that career-wise.
yeah. And 21 years old is the most important time for your career, right?
Yeah, 21. I was 20 actually.
Do the people know the story of you?
No, well, I don't know. I kind of talked about it in the last one, but I only went to college because that was just like the thing to do. That's just the next steps, and I had no idea what I wanted to do, which I feel like most people at 18, that's the case. But
Don't remind me.
I just signed up for a few colleges, and
Signed up.
signed up for, what, is that not what you call it?
I mean, like applied.
I applied for a few colleges.
Signed.
I don't know what you call it. And
Makes sense now.
yeah. So I got into, I think I just applied, isn't there like a limit? Aren't you supposed to apply to like a certain amount?
Yeah, 5 or something.
Yeah, so did that. I got into, the only one I know, I got into UNC Charlotte, so that's where I went. Because I didn't want to go too far, like I wanted to stick around family. And so I went in undecided, obviously, because no idea what I wanted to do. Eventually, actually no, so my first semester there, I came out with a 1.7 GPA.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Because I had no, like I felt like I had no, like I wasn't there for.
Oh, 1.7?
Yeah.
Dude, I did not know this.
So
you never told me this.
I was, in high school, like I wasn't in school in general, I wasn't a good student. Like I didn't care about.
What'd you graduate with? Do you know?
My GPA?
In high school?
I don't remember. I don't know what the numbers are. Is it the same like?
Yeah, it'd be the same format.
I think it was like a 3 something.
Yeah.
I mean, I graduated, so.
Yeah. Dude, 1.7, you had to try for that.
So
You had to try it the opposite way. Like,
in high school, I never like I didn't study. I didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
I feel like the only reason I got through was because teachers just let me.
Yeah. Well, they want you to. In high school, they want you to pass.
Right. They just want you to get out of there.
Yeah.
So.
It looks bad on them if you don't.
Yeah, that's true. So, but then that didn't obviously translate over to college. And in college, like you have to try or you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
You have to show up to class. You have to study. I had no idea how to study. And again, I just had no drive. And so got to that 1.7. If you're below a 2, you have to go into academic probation. So
They put like an ankle monitor on you or something?
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
I wasn't allowed to leave campus.
Dang.
I wasn't allowed to leave the library building. No.
Ever. That's crazy.
So did that. You had 2 options. You could either go to this like group class every week Like what AA?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It sounds like group therapy. Oh my god.
No, you had to go to this like group class once a week, or you could do a tutor. So I did the tutor route. I got back up over a 2. I think it was just barely a 2 or 2.1 that semester. And so I was out of academic probation, because if not, you kicked out. And so I was stressed too, because like really, I didn't want to disappoint my family. Like, hey, I failed.
Yeah. Or group therapy.
Yeah.
Circle.
So that semester started taking it a little more seriously. And then the following semester I got down to a 1.2.
Oh my gosh.
But at that point was when I was already making the decision that I was going to drop out, because I knew I'd already gotten a camera. I learned I could make money doing it. I was somewhat making money doing it. So at that time, and I had met Ashley at that point. And so really it was just an expensive dating service.
Yeah.
Because I found my wife, got married pretty shortly after that.
Your MRS degree?
What was that?
Your Miss degree?
Oh, Miss degree.
Yeah. That's what my sister says she's going to college for.
There you go. Is she going to go to college?
I don't know. She's a freshman, so.
True.
I was a totally different student in high school. I think I was, I didn't apply to very many colleges. I applied to 3, which most people are like shocked by. And really I was looking at 2 colleges the whole time. And the one that I'm at Wingate, and I applied like basically as a joke. The application took 5 minutes.
Yeah, because they're a pretty expensive college too, right?
Yeah, but yes. And I didn't know anything about anything until I get an email and they're like, hey, we're gonna give you so much money for you to come to school here for academics. And then I went on a tour and was talking to the coach and was like, yeah, I got the max academic amount of money. He was like, that's awesome. So I think we're coming at this from totally different areas. In high school I was super academic. I didn't like it, but do I
copied off of you in school.
It seems like it. But I took all the APs. I came in with almost an associate's degree of credits. And my first semester, I was on the president's list. So not second semester, but first semester I was. So that's really interesting. What semester did you drop out?
It was my 3rd semester.
So in the fall of your sophomore year?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And I also too didn't know. I was like, how do I drop out?
Oh my gosh, you can't even drop out, right?
Right. Like, am I supposed to go to the office and tell them hey, have you ever been to a gym and quit?
The only gym would be, what's the one for overweight people? Planet Fitness, yeah. But it just kind of it just fizzled. It was like the end of a middle school relationship. We didn't break up. It just kind of, yeah. Yeah,
because when you go into a gym to quit, you feel very defeated. You're like, hey, I need to quit the gym.
Yeah.
Because you have to go in. They make you go in, which is, anyways. So for college, I didn't know if I was supposed to go to the dean's office or something, but I just stopped going. I could still be enrolled in college.
Really?
Yeah.
But still paying and doesn't even know.
I'm probably still paying. I am still paying for it, actually.
Wow.
I came out with debt, unfortunately.
Dang. Wait, from 3 semesters?
Yeah.
You came out with debt?
Yep.
Dude, that's actually insane.
Well, and I made this stupid, so I could have stayed at home and went to college, but I wanted to live the college experience. And so my first semester, I stayed in a townhome, which was cool. But then the second semester, I had met Ashley and I wanted to stay on campus. And so I stayed in a dorm room, which was fun, but obviously paid for that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But it was just for the experience.
Dang, that's wild.
Yeah.
I didn't know you're still paying for it. I was just watching a video of somebody talking about their college debt or whatever and how they've paid. So I think they had $80,000 in debt. They've been paying for so many years, and they look back on how much they've paid, and it's something like the total they would pay when they finish paying their debt will be $120,000.
See, that's crazy.
That's $40,000. That's half, more of their entire payment in interest.
That's crazy.
And I don't know how that math works, but I was like, what?
Yeah.
So did you take a loan, or did your parents take like a parent loan, and now you're?
I think in the beginning, my mom took a parent loan for just a little bit. Like I had to pay her. Actually, I think I actually had to make payments as she was making payments. Because I was working. I worked a job. I did like pizza delivery and stuff like that.
Sweet. This was before Uber Eats?
Before what?
Uber Eats.
Yeah, DoorDash.
Yeah, DoorDash. Yeah, that's a big one, I guess.
Yeah.
You old fart.
So she took out a loan, and I paid that off right away, because it was only for a little bit.
Does Ashley have a similar story? She had to take out loans? Oh no.
So she has a loan. She has a lot bigger loan because she didn't finish. She dropped out as well. But and I definitely.
What's worse than one failure?
I definitely influenced that. She had one semester left, and then dropped out. But she had a good reason. Like she was going to school to be a teacher because she had thought growing up she was good with kids. And so she thought, well, why not be an elementary school teacher?
Yeah.
That just made sense. And she quickly found out that she enjoys kids, but she hates teaching kids. So doesn't hate it, but it's just there's a lot more behind the scenes in the school system, in the work process, lesson plans, all that kind of stuff that she just didn't enjoy. And so
it took her 3.5 years to find out.
Well, I think she just had no other
backup.
There was no other backup. She was already in for it, and
well, I think that's an interesting story. I wonder how many people are so far into a major and they have no backup plan that they just finish it.
That's true.
Like, what if you're like a neurosurgeon, but you're 7 years in and it's like, well,
I'm already this far. That's probably true.
Just keep going.
That's probably true, because I mean you're that far in debt.
Yeah. Your only hope of getting out is finishing,
right,
and then making.
Because it's not like you can. I mean, when you do a career path, like you take certain classes, and it's not like you can just transfer that over to. I don't know. To a different major. Yeah, especially if you're that far into something. I mean, I was my first semester in, and I changed my major. Yeah. So. Which is like, I mean, that's a good spot to change.
It is. But coming in with all the credits, and I think this is something that, we're not education geniuses, but these high school students now taking all these college classes. They come into school with an associate's degree. Yeah. And then it's like the very first classes are major specific classes. So you spend all this time taking them, even if it's 1-2 semesters, then if you decide I don't want to do this and you switch majors, now you have almost a year's worth of credits that don't apply to your major anymore. So that college has just roped you into another year. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people that are going to find themselves in that situation because everyone in high school is thinking, I need to get ahead. Yeah. If you're not taking the college classes, the AP classes, then you're behind. You're not getting the credit. Right. So you're kind of sold this lie that, everything that you're doing is preparing you for the next level. While in reality, I think the point of high school is the point of high school itself, to develop there, to build relationships there. But instead, it feels like the point of high school is to get you to college or to get you for those weirdos that go to the military or, the workforce. Yeah. So that's an interesting thought. You said high school is, you're meant to develop relationships and stuff like that over education. Do you think high school, just school in general, like K through 12, like, do you feel like you were educated? Yeah. On a lot of things, yes. I did have the privilege of going to a really good private school. Yeah. And it was a small school. My teachers still to this day are some of my close friends and mentors. So I think that situation is very unique.
Yeah.
And I like actually the school in our like district that a lot of students would go to if they weren't at our private school was like the epitome of what the opposite is. A big school with terrible teachers, kids getting, police called all the time. But I obviously did not have that experience. So I think I did learn a lot. I had teachers that cared, and I had a lot of people that cared, and I like to read. And if I look back on my education, it's purely because I like to read. And that kind of made me an academic from an early age. But side story, it's funny because I didn't learn to read till like 2nd grade, which apparently is late.
Okay.
So you're supposed to start reading like kindergarten, and then 1st grade is when you really.
Like 2nd grade's pretty late, huh?
Yeah, and so I was at public school actually, and this is what gets really interesting. I was at public school, kindergarten, 1st grade.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, 2nd grade, went to my private Christian school, and that's where I learned to read, and then took off from there. So if that tells you anything, my only experience with public school is them failing me in the one thing they're supposed to do in kindergarten, 1st grade.
So your path could have been completely different.
Yeah, it could have. Yeah, and I don't know if it was as much their fault as maybe I was just slow, but
Well, don't you have to be able to read to pass? Like they probably just passed you, whatever.
That honestly could be the truth. I remember with my mom when we would practice reading, I had a couple of books that I had memorized because they were so short. And she finally caught on to me because I would read it before she flipped the page, and she's like, "Are you?" And I was like, "You caught me."
That's funny.
So, but I do think there's a difference between elementary, middle school, and high school. I think there's elementary, everyone needs to do. Yeah. You're learning the basic things. I think middle school, I think we could do without middle school. I think there's a lot of difficult things in middle school.
That's where the line is once you get into
Well, here's what's funny. I think high school is beneficial.
Oh, really?
But I think middle school, people get so distracted, and people end up picking a path that they take for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Because they got in with the wrong crowd and started doing the wrong things.
Yeah, middle school is that stage where really, I feel like that's almost where you decide how your life's going to go at that point.
Yeah, and you're 11 years old,
right.
You're
But
13.
it's because the people you hang around.
Yeah.
Most of the time. And it's the worst stage of life to really.
Yes, yeah,
For me, I got that's where I started to get girl crazy, and which was not healthy for me.
Rizzler, all right. Okay.
And school, I don't even. What do you learn in middle school?
Yeah, you don't. I think everyone learns American history. What is there's a dumb fact about George Washington, chopping down the cherry tree. Everyone learns that.
Yeah, you learn all these dumb stories.
Yeah.
That are.
Yeah.
You recall at some point in these random moments in life. You're like, oh yeah, I learned that in middle school.
Yeah.
So I feel
the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. And that's what everyone takes away from middle school. I do think being ahead in college and being ahead in school, I have a job. I think I'm in the life stage of a more
you're
an upperclassman. But it's what is 1 or 2 years,
Right. Yeah.
Whatever.
So we are talking an age difference here, for sure.
Yeah. A generation difference, would it be that?
Probably, yeah, for sure. Because I don't know what is there a technical generation?
Yeah. That was the next semester of college. You would have learned that.
Yeah.
Whenever you say you don't know something, I would be like, that was next year.
That was next year. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So the beginning, I don't think I took a class that was the beginning of college. Most of the classes were just what do they call them? Electives?
Yeah, gen eds.
Gen eds.
Yeah.
So you just take these things that you kind of relearn stuff that you learned already in high school.
Yep, probably in middle school.
Probably in middle school, yeah. Even Ashley, so she was going to school to be an elementary teacher.
Yeah.
So
what do they do? Just teach you how to read over and over again?
Well, that's what I'm what do you already know what you need to teach these kids.
Yeah.
Literally, she would come to we'd hang out at my dorm or my apartment, and she'd come with this literal poster board and cut out
Coloring
pieces
book.
of color, like because she was learning how to like create projects for kids.
Yeah.
It was like, seriously, that's what you're learning right now. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I guess it is a skill.
Yeah. So I definitely think after going back to the line of where you stop learning, elementary school for sure is, I mean, that's where you build a lot. I think elementary school is where you actually learn. Like you develop, you learn math, reading, the essentials. It's not like you start getting into this like learning random history facts and like critical thinking, stuff like this. Like you're just doing the basics. But then middle school is just that awkward stage of life. And then high school, see, I didn't learn, the only thing I learned in high school, I think, is, I don't think I learned anything in high school. Like, honestly.
The pause there was, wait,
well, I was trying to
think
be
about
positive.
this.
I was trying to be positive and think of something. But, I mean, I would say like relationships and like developing friendships and...
Is this when you started photography?
No, I didn't start photography till, well, I guess kind of, but it was with my phone. So like, I was that kid that always like was taking pictures of their food and like, you know, I might, like right now, like the nice little sunset, I might take that and then throw it in.
Nostalgic?
Yeah, like just random stuff like that and then throw it in Instagram. I'd put this like Instagram filter over it. So like, that's kind of where it started. Yeah. But then it wasn't until college until I actually got a camera and started taking photography seriously.
Yeah. Well, I think high school is really interesting because I think I learned some really valuable things. I think there's a teacher, her name's Miss Davidson, shout out to her, but she was my English 3 and AP Lang teacher. So she taught me writing. And I think that's an incredible like skill that everyone should have because there's just a higher level of like cognitive function that you need to have to be able to. That's
a college word right there.
I mean, just to be able to write though, you know what I mean? Like
what kind of writing? You mean like writing poetry or like
no, yeah, actually, good point. Like argumentative. Like I'm gonna make a point and I'm gonna come up with an argument.
Yeah.
I'm gonna create a list of points to explain myself that any rational reader can read and follow my logic.
Yeah.
I think we're missing that in our world today. I think you'll see like, those man on the street videos of someone going up and asking somebody a question, and you just see people that don't understand how to articulate themselves.
Yeah.
I think that's dangerous.
Yeah.
The second that you have the majority of people not able to explain themselves, you're set up for, I mean, not to get like crazy, but you're set up for leaders to just say things, just say buzzwords, and all of a sudden we're on board.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think there's even a little bit to be said for learning some world history. I think if we want to be in touch with news now, we should know a little bit about what happened in the past, knowing relationships with other countries and all that stuff. I mean, I think that's only helpful.
Yeah.
And then this is a hot take, but I do think there's something important about taking higher level math. Everyone's like, oh, I never use this. But I look at it and think, I learned like how to work really hard at something.
Okay.
I took AP Calculus, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And I mean, just for me to, it was, actually I take back. I took AP US, AP US History. That was the hardest thing I ever did. The work was really hard.
Yeah.
For AP Calc, it was the hardest thing for me to comprehend. So I think in high school, the importance of high school is not necessarily in the specifics of the classes you're taking, but it's these lessons that you learn.
Yeah.
So I got to learn perseverance and hard work through taking AP US, AP Calc. Okay. You might have gotten that through, juggling sports, 3 girlfriends, work, and like class. That might have been how you learned that lesson. Yeah. But I just learned it in different facets. And I think the majority of people are not learning those lessons because they're not working really hard at something. I think the redeemer that we have in our culture or our society right now is sports, because you have this huge population of people that are working really hard, learning like just at a high level in their sport. You know, we have all these travel teams, we put all this money into that, and I think the benefit is not the actual sport, but the lessons that we learn, because they're not getting it in their high school.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting. I think in American society, we're putting a lot of pressure on sports because our education system is failing. So, you know, some people will look at it as, I don't have a way out academically. It's not clear to me, you know, if I'm going to get to the next level in life, it's clear that I can work really hard at a sport and maybe get a college scholarship and then maybe play professional. Now, obviously the chances of that are really low, but that's a clear path. You know, if anyone wants to take that path, it's laid out for you what to do. But from an academic side, like, I don't know what I want to do. You know, I'm left guessing, not being exposed to career options. That's a long tangent, but
no,
I mean, I
good.
think that's where we're at.
Yeah. Well, so why do you think our education system is failing?
Well, I mean, you know,
Like,
that's the million, that's probably the billion, that might be the $1 trillion question.
But like, was it meant to fail? Like, are we just at a point where it's like, was the education system what's interesting is, like, the education system started from, came from a guy named John D. Rockefeller. And
Which, if any Rockefellers are listening, sponsor us, right?
Yeah. But he adopted the Prussian education system, and which was developed to basically just create workers, essentially. And Rockefeller has this quote, I want to create a nation of workers, not a creation. Well, hold on, I wrote this down.
Yeah, let's get the real thing.
Get the real thing here. I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers.
Yeah.
So that's like, to me, that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like that, the guy that so our education came from that.
Yeah.
From a standpoint of, I just want to create. Our education system was created for factory workers.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Like, that's
okay. Okay. So
we're getting deep here now.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting because I took a class on
philosophy,
youth development. That's what it was called.
Okay.
So it's really interesting because it actually talks a lot about it talks a whole lot about, like, the beginning of education and stuff. We talked about, so the time you're talking about is like early, I don't want to throw a number out there, let's say early 1900s.
Okay.
Because this is about when the industrial age happened, maybe the late 1800s, and like factories start becoming a thing. So people working at factories, and then you end up with like laws saying, okay, kids can't work at factories, and it's like, okay, we need something for kids to do. Let's send them to school, because you think before that, I mean, school just wasn't as big.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of like homeschooling.
Yeah, and then you think like one room classroom things where you've got, you know, a 16-year-old, actually 16-year-olds are probably working like in the fields. Like, I'm thinking pioneer times. Right. You know, you're living out actually kind of like this. Out in the out in the woods. So if you're not working with your family all day, maybe you got a couple hours, you're going to school, learning some basic stuff. You've got one teacher, she's teaching little kids, she's teaching older kids. Right. And they're all kind of learning the same basic thing. Can you read, write? And once you can, you're good. Yeah. And then we start like institutionalizing, another word. School, and trying to make it a system. Yeah. And I do think, like, if you want to be a successful country and a successful nation, you need to be producers. You know, you can't be consumers. Yeah. Our most successful nations in the world are the ones that are producing and giving goods and services to the rest of the world. That's just the truth. Yeah. So if you want a successful nation, then you need to be majority workers. Yeah. And I think that can be dangerous. I'm about to start talking about things that I don't know enough, but if you can fall into what Karl Marx thought when you get into the bourgeoisie and what was the other one called?
I don't know.
Anyway, but you have the oppressed and the oppressors, or the workers and the lower class and the upper class.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's. I think that could be what happens. But you need to be, as a successful nation, you need to be majority workers, and then a government over that, or some sort of governing body over that.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I can see why he thought I need workers and not thinkers. I'm a philosophy major. What am I going to do? Just sit in the corner and think dumb thoughts all day? So I can see where you end up there, but I can also see how now that's led us into a dark place. But here's my question for you. What would be a successful education system? What's the outcome of a successful education system?
The outcome of a successful education system?
That's a mouthful, by the way. Let's just get that out there.
That's hard to say. The outcome of a successful education. Those are just
system.
Words that don't flow.
Yeah.
See, like, that's just such a. I would say somebody that's a critical thinker, and somebody that can learn to make decisions on their own and live out a life where they see fit for themselves. I think so. For myself, going into college, I was trying to live a life that just what my parents wanted for me, just what society wanted for me. Like that was just the thing to do. It's just go to college, and which is, I mean, that's just what my parents wanted best. Like that's I'm not against college. Like if that's the route you want to go, but I was just trying to live a life out that
wasn't for you.
Wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And until I found that, what I knew what I wanted, I had to go against the grain, and it was hard because I had to tell my parents, hey, I'm dropping out, which was like, I kind of joked it. I threw it out as a joke first. I think I remember it specifically.
That's a good tactic.
Yeah, I remember it specifically. We were just to get like their thought process. We were in a car ride.
Everyone stops laughing, and you're like, what if I dropped out?
That's almost literally how it went. Like, I just threw it. I don't even know how it
went.
Wait,
what? What'd you say, son?
Yeah. I just threw it out.
I will stop this car, right?
I'm going to drop out of college. And they're like, I mean, it was almost like, no, you're not. Like, no.
No, I'm not. No, of course not.
That's hilarious, huh?
Dude, that's funny.
But then shortly after, I just had to come back and say, hey, look, I'm actually dropping out.
Yeah.
And which they supported. They've always supported my decisions. But yeah, so I feel like I don't know where we went with this, but
successful education system.
Yeah. See, I think it's hard to. I don't know that do we need a system to regulate that?
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's obviously the homeschool route where you somewhat have control of what you teach your kid. And it's hard because there's two lanes there. You've got the parents that actually care for their kid and they want to teach them and they want to help them grow and learn to be successful adults that contribute to a society. But then you've probably got the lane where maybe they're just anti-everything, anti-government, anti-this, and they just want to shelter their kid, but they don't actually teach their kid. They just say, here's some stuff, learn this, but which that can be dangerous.
Yeah, that's near like cultish level stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna withdraw from society. I think that's not really beneficial for.
Yeah, because you definitely want to raise up someone that can live out in society and contribute. But that is that person's decision, right? Is it in our control to regulate the people that don't want to do that?
Yeah.
Because ultimately that person is going to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah. Well, so I had a reason for asking you what a successful.
I feel like I was trying to avoid that.
No, I think you did good. What a successful educational system would look like, and I think even good system at its peak,
Yeah.
it's getting nowhere near 100% success.
Right.
Right. Like, I think a great system might be getting 70%. Like, I think that would be really, really high, maybe 60,
Yeah.
you know? So it's this idea that you have something really difficult, you throw a bunch of almost eggs at the wall, and whichever ones survive, whichever ones don't crack.
Yeah.
Don't crack.
Yeah.
Like, that's what moves on. And I think there's different barriers, right? So, like, elementary, you throw the eggs, almost none of them crack. Most people get through. Then middle school, do it again. Okay, a couple more. High school, do it again. And then college, you have, like, the buried entry is a lot, like, steeper, because you've got money, you've got, now you have a certain level of, did you do this good in high school to, like, qualify?
Yeah.
To sign up?
To sign up.
So, I mean, it's interesting. I think something that's difficult is people think that we need 100% success rate with students for a system to be successful, but that's just not the case.
Yeah.
And I think it gets dangerous. It gets dangerous if you land either way. You know, you don't want to think, you want to care about the individual, but also care about the masses. And I mean, I think that gets really deep and really philosophical quickly.
Right. So do you feel like you're more prepared for life now that you're
Going through college?
Going through college.
Yeah.
I mean, how much do you have left?
I have 2 semesters.
Right. So you're pretty much almost done. Would you say, like, you feel more prepared for life now that you've gone through it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But not because of... See, it's difficult because it's hard to separate the experience of the things that I picked up while I was at college. Like, for example, you with your photography, like, had you just gone into the workforce, you might be a diesel mechanic right now, you know, and you might have never touched a camera because that was the path that you took and you just didn't get exposed to that.
Yeah.
And for me, me getting my job working at the church, like, that would not have happened had I not went to college.
Yeah.
And this is where I think it's incredibly difficult to separate, you know, just the education from the experience. Because I think a lot of people at 18, 19 years old, like, we don't know what we want to do.
Right.
Like, we're not functioning adults. Our brains aren't fully developed. We need time where we can almost be in an oasis where we have everything that we need. We can have something that keeps us busy, and we can maybe learn and grow in the middle of it. And I think that's what college is. I think it's a great time where you have, for, you know, students that come from families with that, you know, can afford it. I think you put all those qualifiers around it. You're not going to be in crazy financial debt. I mean, even if you come away with some, I think if you're not in a terrible hole, then you've got an extra 4 or 5 years if you get a master's where you can build relationships with people that are, you know, probably going to last. Everyone says college is where you make your best friends. You can potentially meet a spouse. You can learn something that you'd be interested in doing for maybe the rest of your life. But you're just given extra time. That I think people need. Everyone looks back and says, man, college were the best years of my life. And I think that says something. I think there's an importance to it. But when we put all the weight on education and not on experience, I think that's where we end up with guys like you that are like, well, why am I doing this? And for you, it worked out. But I think there's some people that will hear that, think, oh, I don't want to do this. But then maybe they're one of those people that needed to do it. They're one of those people that needed someone to, you know, a little extra discipline and mentorship for a couple more years because maybe they didn't have that growing up.
I think that's where, like, I would say college is definitely beneficial in the fact that it's a time period where you can transition from, because in high school you have no sense of
responsibility.
College is where you start to get some of that responsibility. You move out of the house, or maybe you don't move out of the house, but you still have, you know, you're driving out and about, you've got more responsibility. Maybe you've got like a phone bill to pay or something like that. You have to show up to class. You've got all these different responsibilities. But you have room to make mistakes. Like, you can I don't know, there's just mistakes in the life that you can make in those stages that don't have huge consequences. So it's this time period of like learning how to be an adult, essentially.
Yeah.
And how to be responsible. How do I want to contribute to society?
Yeah.
And it gives you that time period where you can think about that. And for me, I think I figured that out early on. And so it was definitely a time period of learning how to be, because I moved out. I moved into a townhome, and so immediately had responsibilities. I mean, I had rent to pay. I had all these other different bills I had to pay. So I also had to get a job. And so I think my process sped up a little bit doing that, as far as learning responsibilities.
Yeah.
So for me, my situation, I think, was just different. And so that's why I am where I am now. But I would say college is beneficial in that sense, learning how to be an adult.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess my thing is like, why do I need to pay to do that?
Yeah.
Why do I have to pay?
Okay, socialist, communist. Yeah.
You know, but I guess what is the other? So let's say we deleted college in general,
okay.
and didn't think about all the consequences that might create. But like, what would be our transition? I mean, if we go straight into, because some people go straight into the workforce, but are they missing out?
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Man, it's just one of those things that, in the grand scheme of, like, the U.S., we haven't been around that long.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like a little over 200 years.
Yeah.
The college system most definitely hasn't been around that long.
Yeah.
At least in the way it is now, that what it's become has only been around for so long. So we're not in the same, like, we could have the same discussion with something like social media. We don't know the effects of that, and we're not going to know the effects of that for a long time.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. I think we'll definitely look back and say that some things should have been different. But I'm kind of convinced that if you gave us, like, the thing that we keep coming back to is there's several lessons that you need to learn as you're becoming an adult, and just so that you can benefit society and benefit yourself. There's several things that you need to learn. And it seems like if you gave us, you know, time to come up with a plan, let's take a child to adult, let's say from, you know, 5 to 23, 24, right? The system we would come up with would probably be our educational system now. Yeah, we would agree with elementary school. We would think middle school needs some changes, but I mean, most of that is just the kids being weird.
Yeah.
Like in reality.
It's just an awkward
yeah.
stage.
And then high school, you know, I think the biggest change we would make would be in how we would communicate everything. Like, hey, maybe you want to take a different route. Maybe you want to do this. Maybe you want to go straight into the workforce. Maybe you want to, you know, pursue an art. Like, yeah. I think we would try to push those more.
Yeah.
But, like, at the end of the day, college is an option.
Yeah. That's true.
And it's a privilege. And I think people think it should be, we have this entitled idea that we deserve higher education.
Yeah.
But for the longest time, I mean, it was like, if you went to college, it was like, oh, that guy went, like, that's a big deal.
Right.
And now it's not like that, but we're paying more for it, which is really weird.
Yeah.
I don't know where that lands us. I mean, that's
a good thought.
Kind of just thinking out loud.
That's a good thought. So, well, but you talked about high school and giving us different routes. I actually went to a high school. My first, I only went there for my first 2 years, but it was I guess, you basically had to get into it. They had to accept you. It wasn't a private school, but it was I think they call it a magnet school or something like that, a lottery school. And basically it's surrounding counties. You can all apply into this one school, and it was called CATA, Central Academy of Technology and Arts. And you could apply, go in, and they had like 4 or 5 different tracks that you could go on. And there was like you could actually go for like theater. You could go for IT. But I went the route of auto mechanic, which really just sounded fun. And it actually was fun. We learned, I literally took apart an engine and put it back together.
Really?
Like we actually learned like stuff that was going to be, you know, I could have used that later on in life.
Yeah. You won't, but you could.
I won't. I didn't go that route. But so it was interesting because it felt like that school was, they were thinking more on like, let's raise up people that can contribute to society.
Yeah.
Right? Like I even took an entrepreneurship class. Like they had a class on entrepreneurship. So it was interesting because that school, I don't know if they just had a different thought process. I don't know, but that school felt beneficial. Now I eventually left and went back to public school.
Yeah. Was there a reason
why I left?
Yeah, that benefits the conversation.
No, it was for not good reasons. We just won't talk about it.
Okay.
We can talk about that off camera. But no, so I eventually left that for just life reasons. This is kind of one of the last questions I have.
Yeah.
We can kind of wrap up. What would you send your kid to college?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to?
I think generic answer.
Yeah.
Like, as in, the kid does well in school.
Okay.
I'm in a, spot financially where I'm able to help. I think yes.
Yeah.
I think I would, but I would be pushing them in the direction of, hey, let's figure out what you like.
Right.
More than let's let college figure that out for you.
Yeah.
Let's be proactive in figuring out what you like. And this is something interesting I was going to say about the magnet school you were at. Essentially all they did was took the problem of, hey, what do you want to do? And present it to you earlier.
Yeah.
They said when you're 14.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that the answer? I don't know. At 14.
Are we growing up too quick at that point?
Yeah. So it's really interesting. Most people, and here's what's weird. People get out of college, and most of the time the first job you get out of college is not the job you're going to have for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You're probably going to have 1-2 transitions, and then you'll be in the job that you're going to, or the area you'll be for the rest of your life. So it's like, it's really weird. I think what I take away from all these ideas is that people are different. There's not going to be, we can't look at all people as one system is going to fix it. And I think from an education side, we need to be pushing general lessons and ideas, like working hard and perseverance more than we do the facts, which is hard because I think the facts is and by facts I mean E equals MC squared, like that stuff. Let's push, hey, higher levels of thinking more than whatever. But I don't know, it's hard because different people have different capabilities and their capacity for higher learning is different.
So on that point, I feel like, so in high school and college, in my early 20s, I had no desire to just learn, but really until now and
last week.
No, but now I've been getting into actually reading and learning. I've been into philosophy lately, Greek philosophy, which is so random and that's not high school me would have never have thought I would be into anything like that. Because I don't think I read a book in school. When it came time to take a test on a book that we were reading, I would skim that book that day or just ask my friends, hey, give me some topics here. And so, but now
I think you have to be smarter. You have to be smarter to not read the book than to just read the book.
Well, hey, that's I probably learned some sort of life lesson there. So like, but yeah, so like now I'm actually like interested in learning.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to think like, do we, later on in life, like, do we need to be learning that young?
Yeah.
Like these certain things?
Yeah.
Because maybe we need to find out who we are first. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's one of those things where like repetition, you know, in order for you to learn and understand Greek philosophy now, I think you had to understand simple American government back then. You know what I mean? And I choose American government because we can say that you learn simple philosophical principles in maybe like democracy or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost like education at an early age allows you the freedom to then pursue learning in a way that whatever you want now, like you couldn't if you didn't have that background.
Yeah.
So, man.
But like, are we speeding up things too fast? Are we like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, do we need to learn all those things at a young age, or can we just kind of go throughout life and eventually learn them?
Yeah. I think we're speeding up the wrong things and slowing down the wrong things.
Yeah.
I think if you look back over history, people were married a lot younger.
Yeah.
People lived with their families a lot longer. Mm-hmm. They started working earlier. You know, like if you just look at so much of time before this like modern age, you know, people lived with their families for so long. They stayed in their towns. I was talking about this with my mom earlier. Like, people lived in the same place for most of their life.
Right.
And then, like, to move is crazy. We now have this, like, freedom to be anywhere in the world tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know? Or right now if I pick up my phone and call somebody. So we're speeding up these, like, this weird part of life, and becoming more connected than ever, but at the same time, people also seem like we're more disconnected than ever. You know, and this is, you know, side tangent, but mental health issues skyrocketing.
Yeah.
You know, they're what seems like to be at an all-time high.
Yeah.
But we're now even more aware of it than we were.
Right.
So I don't know, man. I think it's interesting. I think we're definitely focusing on the wrong things.
Yeah. Back to wanting your kid go to college.
Yeah.
Which is how we got on this.
Let that thought hang in the air.
I would say for me, I'm not gonna like.
For Waylon, let's put a name.
Sorry, yeah, for Waylon. For my son, so it's interesting because I, you know, I'm at a point where like I have a kid to put this thought to.
Yeah. Face to an idea.
Face to an idea. I almost want to say like, I really don't want him to go to college, just to like push on that. You know, you don't need college.
Yeah.
But I don't want to like stray him away from it, if that's what he wants to do, because it is a necessity for certain things in life. Yeah. You want to be a doctor. You want to be a whatever chemist. Yeah. Those certain things. If that's what he wants to do, then for sure I'm going to support that, and he'll go that route. But I'm not going to push that idea of, you know, maybe we're in this high school age and he needs to start thinking what he wants to do. I'm not going to say, all right, son, let's start looking at some colleges, you know. Yeah. I'll introduce the thought, like, hey, you want to go to college? But I want to encourage him to think other routes as well. Yep. Because there are other routes. Yeah. You can go straight to a trade and do something there. You can go my route and be entrepreneurial and drop out. Drop out. Maybe not. I would encourage to maybe finish what you start. No, that's a little harsh. That's a little harsh. Sorry. No, because I wouldn't even say, like, if he goes the college route and he eventually figures out, hey, you know, this actually isn't for me. That's fine. Yeah. Drop out. Do it now. Even if you're 3.5 semesters in. Yeah, like, yeah. That's fine. but because that's a decision he wants to make, and that's the thing. I think I'm gonna have to learn to let him make decisions, even though I might know that there's huge consequences to it, or that he is actually going to fail in this situation. You just kind of have to let him fail in that situation, because that's how he's going to learn.
Yeah.
So anyways, we're going off on a tangent. I would say I'm just going to give him other options other than college.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and in my mind, I think you've reached it as a parent when it comes to college, if that's your like stance, because in the same, like, you felt like your parents were like, this is the way, go to college, you know. And you could respond with your kids saying, this is not the way, don't go to college.
Yeah.
But instead you're saying to find your own way.
Yeah, because I mean, like, college could have been the way for me. I could have went to college and figured out something that I love doing, but it just turned out it wasn't.
Yeah.
And there is no the way.
Yeah. Except the one way.
Except the one way.
Yep. On the hat.
Yep. Speaking of, you want to give us
a fit?
All right. So yeah. Any last words on the scam of our education?
Yeah. Well.
Have we landed on a
consensus?
Consensus here?
Yeah. Man, I don't think so.
No.
I think what I've landed on is there's no one way, and I think anybody that tries to say they're gonna fix the education system is not. You know, like, it's not fixable because people aren't fixable.
Yeah.
You know, there's no one solution. I think encouraging the basics. I think as a society we're right in keeping people in high school as best we can, and keeping people in middle school.
Yeah.
But what we can't do, and this is what so many people do, is we think that to solve all of our problems there's three things: education, legislation, or medication. And the reality is none of those three things are going to solve all of our problems.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be our salvation from this world. We need to look for other facets to do that. For us, we believe that's our faith in what Christ has done on the cross.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing that can give purpose in life, in a way that education, medication, and legislation cannot. And I think that's what happens is you see politicians, people put their faith in, if I'm only more educated, I can find my leg up in life. Yeah. In reality, you're just going to be chasing a rabbit that you're never going to get to. And that's kind of what I was saying at the beginning. The level that you're at, and wherever that is, if you're in high school, if you're in college, if you're even working, the level of life that you're at is not so that you can reach the next one. You didn't have kids so that, one day they can move out and you can say, I accomplished that. That's not why. You didn't, I'm not in college right now so that one day I can be like, I finished college. No, I'm in college to be in college right now. I'm like for the moment, you know? And that's not to be ignorant of the future, but I think we spend so much time living our life for the next step that we don't actually live the moment. Yeah. Which sounds so out there, but I think it's the truth.
Yeah. So for us, we have a foundation of faith. And so I think in the grand scheme, so when we look at our life and we think, okay, what's necessary in life? At least for me, I think you have to come through, okay, what does God want for me in life? What do I, when I do something, is it going to be honoring to God? And can I, do what God wants from me?
Yeah, glorify Him in the process.
Can I glorify Him in the process? And so for me, looking back at education and making that decision of like, okay, do I want to drop out of college? My thought process was, in my thought process now is like, I can be homeless on the streets and still live my life out for God. And now we have free will to do the things that we want to do. And so I think we have a benefit of, you know, no matter what we do in life, as long as we have our faith and put our trust in God, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
In the long run.
Yeah.
We know where we're going. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what we do in this life, while it matters, if I don't go the education system route, or I do, ultimately I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's like a purpose that runs through it all.
Yeah.
So, and I think there's like an aspect of our faith also gives us like guidelines. So we know that we're going to work hard in all that we do because that's what glorifies God. So I think the Christian that's honoring God is not going to end up on the streets. And all I mean is they're going to be working hard. So if they do find themselves in that spot, you know, they're going to be trying to reach, you know, they're hopefully they're plugged into a church. I think that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it gives us a basis for we're never going to be below a certain level because we're working hard. And that doesn't mean that being a Christian means that life's going to be easy. I think it means the opposite.
Yeah.
I think you hear stories of them losing everything, even their lives.
Yeah.
But they've got a purpose that runs through it all.
Yeah.
Which is what our world is really lacking.
Yeah. Could be the contribute to the downfall of our education system.
Yeah. Yeah. So college is a scam. If you look at it to be your saving, like, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I think we do. So for most people, it is a scam. But I think for the people that have a nuanced kind of mindset going into it, I think it's a really great time and a great institution.